Climate change is a change in global or regional climate patterns, in particular, a change apparent from the mid to late 20th century onwards, and attributed largely to the increased levels of atmospheric carbon dioxide produced by the use of fossil fuels. According to the most recent IPCC climate change report in September 2013, says there is now a 95% probability that humans are responsible for global warming. The panel of scientists also stated that a recent pause in global warming during the past 15 years is too short to reflect any long-term trends. The report summary shows the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere has risen by 40% since the pre-industrial era. Now I'm here with IPCC's chairperson, Rajendra Pachauri. Please tell us, what have you found from the latest report?
Well, Kayana, we have had over 800 scientists working on this September's report, and we have found that the atmosphere and ocean have warmed. The amounts of snow and ice have diminished, and the sea levels have risen, and concentration of greenhouse gases have increased.
So what does this mean for Australia?
Australia will suffer greatly from these findings. Natural disasters will increase exponentially.
I'm here with marine geologist Robert Carter. What are your thoughts on September's IPCC report?
Well, Kayana, real-world observations tell us that the IPCC's speculative computer models do not work. Ice is not melting at an enhanced rate, sea level rise is not accelerating, the frequency and intensity of extreme weather events is not increasing, and dangerous global warming is not occurring. I believe that the latest IPCC report is filled with dodgy statistics and serious frauds.
I believe that skeptics are basing their facts on the flaws of climate research and non-credible sources. Australian anti-science campaigns are funded by the fossil fuel lobby and are used to portray that climate change is not a real or urgent threat. The facts are in front of us. Climate change is a global urgency and needs to be acted upon now. If we let the skepticism win, we risk global crisis. Almost all climate modelling shows temperatures are likely to rise by 2 degrees Celsius by the end of the 21st century. And the worst case scenario shows a 1 metre sea level rise by the end of the century. The report found that heat waves will be more frequent and will last longer, and wetter regions will receive more rain. This will come as a great cost to Australia. Many people are located along the coast, thus the rise in sea level will have a costly effect on the landscape. As heat waves become more frequent, bushfires will increase and intensify, not to mention more rain for tropical regions will result in flooding. These consequences will cost the government millions, destroy Australia's landscape and have extremely negative impacts on the people of Australia and future generations. These consequences will be irreversible and will remain an economic burden. The consequences of taking action now, however, are much less extreme. A lot of money will go into the reduction of gas emissions. Taxes will rise but at a steady pace, and this will still cost the government millions. Nevertheless, this investment money will be much less than the amount having to be spent if this is put off any longer. Not only will it work out economically beneficial, but many of these irreversible consequences will be prevented and ultimately will become beneficial for the economy, the environment, and the population. Share of total greenhouse gas emissions of Australia compared to the USA on a global scale is massively different. The USA is responsible for 18.29% of these greenhouse emissions, whereas Australia is responsible for a mere 1.47%. Nonetheless, greenhouse gas emission contribution per capita looks at Australia's contribution on an individual scale, and the statistics show appalling results. The US uses 23.4% of gas emissions per person, whereas Australia uses 27.3% per person, ranking Australia 7th in the world for the most gas emissions used per person. America has seen increases in temperatures over the century and is experiencing the consequences of global warming across the country by facing freak weather just like in Australia. Wildfires and floods have increased in spread and tornadoes have become stronger and more frequent. The US have initiated a number of policies and partnerships that span a wide range of initiatives from reducing their emissions to developing transformational low-carbon technologies to improving observational systems that will help better understand and address the possible impacts of climate change. America does not have a carbon tax like we have here in Australia, but do have a cap-and-trade program, which is a pretty similar approach to the issue. According to Professor Simon Jackman, the majority of the public from both USA and Australia support action on climate change. However, there are politically consequential differences implying contrasts in policies and approaches on the issue. Since Australia's carbon emissions per capita are higher than that of America's, this suggests that we need to take a different course of action. Tony Abbott has vowed to abolish the carbon tax by July 2014, and I believe this is going to have a very negative impact on our gas emissions. Without a tax on carbon use, people will feel free to waste energy, and this will not be good for Australia's environment. As many Australians are against this tax, however, perhaps the government should think about swapping to the cap and trade program like America. Australia needs to spend more money on renewable energy and energy-saving technologies. Having a Prime Minister who does not support action against climate change, however, is making this change as a nation extremely difficult, and the individual involvement has never needed to be of greater impact than of now.